Hello and welcome to the last episode of 2024. Can you believe it? The year is already over. It still feels to me that we've just been celebrating the holidays very recently. I don't know where all these months went and what actually happened. On the other hand, when I'm looking back at all the things that we did, I actually can see that we created a mountain of support. Like we created tons of content, not just for the show with interviews and with the audio messages every day, but also, like blog posts and articles and notes, and brought in new clients and supported new things and found new investment opportunities, made awesome new relationships. So tons of stuff happened, but it also feels a little bit like time flew by. As I'm getting older, I have the impression that time is accelerating, flying by faster and faster. As it is kind of almost a tradition, coming to the end here with the last show of the year 2024, there is a little bit a feeling of looking forward, looking into the next year and wondering what will probably happen next year. I have now learned, and you have seen this to some extent in my posts and my writings in 2024, to look at more of a global perspective rather than just the United States market in and of itself. And we have seen a lot of changes on the global perspective. Sadly, we have seen continued wars or new wars to come out. We have seen economic shifts. But one of the things that I've seen predominantly as an issue for us as investors is this continued evolution of what I would call isolationism. So countries and groups of countries are finding ways to isolate themselves from others, not completely, but I give an example. We have heard already announcements for the new administration in the United States. The old administration said, we are putting 100% tariffs on Chinese electric cars so they cannot come into the United States. The new administration topped that, even though they're not in power yet, to say, yes, we support that. And on top of that, we are also putting tariffs on anything that comes from Mexico, including Chinese electric cars, even though we have a contract that says imports from Mexico and Canada are not getting extra tariffs. And you might say, okay, well, so that's the US, and we want to do this for the reasons stated. And then you look around the globe and you find in Europe, they do the same thing. Their car industry in Europe is struggling. And I know a little bit about it because I'm originally from Germany and have always been following and have been a big fan of BMWs, have driven several BMWs in my life and owned them. So there they said the same thing. We are putting extra tariffs on Chinese electric cars and other imports because we believe the government in China has been subsidizing these companies and created an unfair advantage. Well, guess what happened next? Companies like Volkswagen, or VW as it's known in the US, announced that they have had less profit and that they particularly struggle to sell cars in China. And US companies from General Motors and Chrysler and Ford have similar experiences in Asia. And what do? They turn around to their politicians and say, hey, politicians, we need your help. You need to give us money. So the Europeans say we cannot allow the Chinese cars to come in because their companies have been subsidized, and then turn right around and subsidize their own companies. Why am I taking this example? Because I feel 2025 will be a year where we potentially see who are really investors, who are people who are really willing to dig in a little bit, who work with somebody, like with Idea Wealthgrower, who have a mentor, who follow an organization, who read their newsletters and inform themselves from multiple sources to really be able to say, what do I want to do with my new money to invest? And what do I want to do with my existing investments? And anybody who has been catching themselves over the holidays to say, well, I've been doing pretty good in 2024, but if I'm honest with myself, I haven't really paid that much attention. It just all worked out pretty well. And that is true in almost every way. If you had gold, it went up massively. If you had stocks, they went up massively. If you had real estate, you had probably still appreciation in the price or the value of your real estate, plus rents continued to go up, especially in the first half of 2024. So you could have been invested in almost anything and things went up. Well, there are significant changes coming. And even though I'm not pretending to know what exactly the impact of those changes is going to be, but I'm very convinced that only those people who keep an eye and an ear on what's going on, keep informed, and then adjust, will be able to say at the end of 2025, it was a good year again. That's what I mean by separating those who are informed from those who are just followers. Overall, I want to say, closing out this episode and closing out this year, I'm actually pretty optimistic for 2025. There are some movements in the world that I see if I look, for example, towards Argentina. And yes, the media lets us believe that the guy there is crazy. But if you ever listen to the interview that Lex Friedman did with President Milei, you will find that is just the outside appearance. There is much, much more, to say the least, interesting stuff projected for the United States with the new administration. How much of that will really happen? I don't know, but I'm optimistic that at least a few things will happen. Not because I like the rhetoric or would consider myself to be a far-right conservative, but some of the things that will have positive impacts on the economy and on investors and on savers and on the public, I would rather like to see happen. So there is cause and reason for optimism. And I hope you are all optimistic. And the one thing I would want to leave you with at the end of 2024 is please, please spend a little bit of time every week to remain informed. We will continue to send you your newsletter on a regular basis. We will have at least one interview in the podcast on a regular basis every week. We will have our audio. We will potentially have another book out next year. Definitely a new ebook. So there are several things that we are continuing to provide to you to help you to be informed. And don't just take information from us, gather other sources as well. So you can be one of the people who are the informed ones, who make smart decisions, have discussions, engage with mentors, supporters, and coaches, so that you will be able to say in 12 months from now, it was a good year again. So best wishes for 2025. Thank you profoundly for all your support, for all your engagement, for everything you did. And I hope we will continue to work together, grow together, and have an awesome 2025.